Hi, welcome to the Law Simplified. I'm Shaveen Bandadnayaka. I've had the opportunity and the privilege of teaching some wonderful students over the past 7 years, conducting my fast track and masterclass programs. To this day, you'll be able to see most of my life's work on the online law school platform, which you can access through the link in the description below or the one that will appear on screen right now. This YouTube channel, for example, was based upon the notion that law should be accessible and legal education should be accessible to anyone, irrespective of their age or where they live. If you or anyone that you've shared this with enjoys the content that I do produce, make sure you give a thumbs up or a like and do subscribe to the Law Simplified channel. But over the past 7 years, having taught many students from varying parts of the world, irrespective of whether they were a full-time student who's getting into a degree for the first time, and law being that, or someone who is a professional who's changing career paths, let's say from computing to engineering to marketing and or management, there's often one question that I generally get at one stage of their academics. It might be when they start practicing examination questions or assignment submissions, or it might be soon after they've completed the substantive theory components of, let's say, criminal law or tort law. So this one question that I generally get asked, at least at one particular stage in that process of study, is, can I have a look at a sample answer? Now, I can quite empathize with why a student would want to know about this. Whether you are a full-time student or a professional who already has a degree under his belt, who's coming into law as a professional tangent to their career or to change careers altogether, it's clear that law in itself is quite perplexing sometimes and subjective at that. So unlike the many technical aspects of studying that you might be familiar with, law tends to have this unique characteristic that's sometimes very hard to put your thumb on. Because of that, as I noted earlier, it's very clear why students would want to see a sample answer. And more often than not, what I generally tell students is, don't take the outcome, take the technique. When I conduct workshop sessions or tutorials, the principles of how exactly to break down and tackle a response is much more important than to see what exactly I would write in the end. Now, sample answers are galore, and you would see this on the internet at countless different URLs and websites. Now, by no means am I saying that this is not a good point of reference, but what I have to stress and warn every single student of mine and anyone who's watching this video as well is that relying on a sample answer that may be first class level or even slightly lower is the same thing as looking at a prescription that has been given to one patient and trying to take the same medication for what you believe the same thing that ails you. Now, while it might seem on paper as the best case scenario, looking at a first class answer and then applying it as is to your own question at hand, by and large, it cannot communicate one fundamental thing that examiners look at, or look for rather, which is your personality. Your personality is something that comes naturally and innately when you write a response. And it's quite clear to an experienced examiner when he or she reads an answer script that this may not be exactly yours. It might be something that has been fashioned into the question that you have been presented with. And the danger of this, on the best case scenario, is that you will only be marked for the substance as opposed to really the technique or the arguments. And on the worst case scenario, it falls into the category of plagiarism. By and large, since your response may not be exactly what is expected by the examiner, as well as on the other hand, it might be something that's so disjointed and not connected whatsoever with the question presented to you that it clearly seems like a template or something that has been simply copied and pasted. Now, the reason why I decided to make this video as well is, irrespective of the number of years that I've been teaching, this question keeps coming up. And the reason why it keeps coming up is because of the perplexing nature of law. But what I would like to communicate to all of you watching this video, as well as anyone that you're sharing it with, potential students as well as current students alike, try and understand a technique of getting something done. Writing a response, an assignment, formative or summative, or even an examination question, rather than trying to shoehorn a pre-baked response to a question that may have nothing to do with what you're aiming at whatsoever. But that being said, until the next time that we meet, have fun, stay safe, and as always, obey the law.